how many people saw this article? To me, it's kind of cringe when these media companies come out with articles like this. Have you guys ever seen articles like this when it comes to anybody else? Deion Sanders still winning in black community after first loss at Colorado. Do they ever make articles like this about other people? What about like white community still doing well in the United States after Brett Favre debacle? Like, does that article come out? This is one of the reasons why we need to have our own media, because when they make stupid articles like this, we need to be able to make articles that are just as dumb in response. You know what I'm saying? Now, y'all know I like Deion. You know what I'm saying? I like Deion, but I like some I like some shady characters. You know what I'm saying? But that don't mean that I can't call them out. I like Abba and Preach. They be wrong a lot of times. I call them out. I like Eric Adams. I told y'all that. I like Eric Adams. Bro, you're doing a horrible job being the mayor of New York. You know what I'm saying? I like Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders got issues. It is what it is. It's no big deal. You know what I'm saying? Regardless, that has nothing to do with the media acting as if Deion Sanders is like carrying the black community through something. Deion Sanders is one guy. He's a hell of an athlete in multiple sports. He's a coach at Colorado University. That's it. And I gotta agree, Torian, that would require the vast majority of the community to embrace villainy as a collective. I think we can get that to happen. It's just, it probably won't happen in our lifetime. You know what I'm saying? But we can plant the seeds and fertilize the ground. You know what I'm saying? Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you guys show some love to Jay Cage, who just became a member. Definitely appreciate you being here, bro. Shout out to Jay Cage. Thank you so much for the membership. You know what I'm saying? You will have access to all of the membership hits, and you'll be able to see the future membership hits. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to Jay Cage. And you get all the goodies. You know what I'm saying? The green name, the monthly super chat, access to the emojis, all of that good stuff. You know what I'm saying? All of that worthless good stuff. You know what I'm saying? So let's see what they talking about in here. And then I got another article that I wish I had my hands on during that last stream, because this is something that is not something that I'm real comfortable with. You know what I'm saying? But I think that it's something, unfortunately, especially with what's going on in the world, we're going to see more of. And this is one of the reasons why when I'm doing those undocumented bros streams, I'm constantly telling people need to protect themselves. You know what I'm saying? People need to protect themselves. Y'all know I'm OCD. You know what I'm saying? This damn banner is too big. I don't like this. Members only. It's all big like that. I don't like that. We're going to have to change that. We're going to have to do something real quick. Hang tight. Hang tight. Hang tight. It's too. I don't like that, man. There. We're going to do it like that. We're going to change it to this. There you go. See? That's better. I can deal with that. I don't like it all disproportioned like that. You know what I'm saying? I like that right there. A nice little rectangle there. You know what I'm saying? Got a nice little rectangle right there. All right. So now here it says, one of Trevin Hamlet's core memories from attending the University of Colorado is living on campus his freshman year and be able to count on one hand how many black people he'd see in a day. Where do they find these people at? That's what you remembered from college? Oh, man. I told you guys, listen, man, I went to a PWI. A very PWI. I'm going to tell you, man, I was kicking it in college. I went to a PWI and I took some classes because they had like a Oscar Ritchie is what it was called. school of Pan-Africanism. You know what I'm saying? And they had some classes that were like Black experience classes. They had Black-based literature. Surprisingly, some of those classes were on the honors curriculum at the college that I went to. The dean of the arts and science classes was an individual who was a Black guy who was really cool, that had a PhD. He was a really intelligent brother. Shout out to him. You know what I'm saying? He's a public figure, so I think it should be okay for me to say his name. His name was Dean Timothy Moore. You know what I'm saying? Real good dude. You know what I'm saying? Very intelligent, man. Extremely intelligent brother. Very well spoken, articulate. You know what I'm saying? Older Black dude. You know what I'm saying? Real cool cat too. You know what I'm saying? Like real cool. You know what I'm saying? I had him for Black Experience 1 and 2. Those were some great classes. You know what I'm saying? But the college that I went to was it was a VPWI, a very predominantly white school. Man, I had so much fun in college, man. I kicked it with, I had a large amount of Black friends that I kicked it with. I had some white friends that I kicked it with. It wasn't lingering on my mind, quote unquote, how many Black faces I've seen. I'm gonna tell you something. I've actually been to places and been in areas where that actually is a concern. There is no college campus in the United States, except for maybe like some private Christian college campuses, like way out in, you know what I'm saying? That's something that you constantly think about. I don't know where they be getting these people. I guarantee you that Colorado University has Black fraternities. I guarantee you they got Black sororities. I guarantee you they got they probably don't have, like, it's not 50-50, but you know how to get in where you fit in and kick it and hang out. And when you get in where you fit in and you kick it and hang out, you do be around a bunch of Black people. So I highly doubt, like, I don't know what he would be talking about unless he's talking about like in the classroom or something like that, depending on what kind of classes he took. When I went to my classes at Oscar Ritchie Hall, it was all Black people there. Now, when I went to some of my other classes, I might be the only Black person in the class. You know what I'm saying? But you can find places where there's some Black people at. You know what I'm saying? That's not something that you think about every day. You don't go your whole entire 4 years of college and that's like one of the main memories that you memorize. Would you guys agree, or do you disagree? I knew as soon as they had this article, it would be some BS. You know what I'm saying? So now here it says, now this is why all you saw was white people. Hamlet, who played lacrosse, he played lacrosse at Colorado from 2014 to 2019 and still lives in the area, was the only Black person on his team in a school where African-American students made up less than 2% of the population. Bro, you were on the lacrosse team. Shout out to Eddie Longs. What's good with it? Let me ask you guys a question. How many Black people do you expect to be on the lacrosse team? Are you surprised? This is what I'm saying. You surprised about that? Now, I'm not saying that you can't play lacrosse. I'm not saying that. You know what I'm saying? If you got skills at lacrosse, do your thing, bro. You know what I'm saying? If you a hockey player, if you got skills at hockey, do your thing. You're surprised that you was the only Black person? Bruh, if you watch lacrosse, if you watch hockey, if those are sports that you're interested in and you grow up watching those, why are you surprised? Exactly. Very few, if any. Very few. You know what I'm saying? Very few. Like, come on, man. So I'm gonna go back on here. Hamlet, who played lacrosse at Colorado from 2014 to 2019 and still lives in the area, was the only Black person on his team in a school where African-American students made up less than 2% of the population. He said a lot of those Black students were athletes. For years after Hamlet graduated, Colorado's student makeup doesn't look much different. All right. Now, mind you, there's a lot of white people in Colorado, and he didn't move out of the state. You know what I'm saying? So again, there's that. But football coach Deion Sanders has turned the Boulder campus into an unexpected cultural phenomenon where the vivacity and early success of the team had forced the attention of even those who didn't watch college football, with a lot of support coming from the black community. What do you guys think about that? To me, this right here, this kind of article, how many people watched Professor Black Truth's video that he did about Deion Sanders? If you guys watched Professor Black Truth's video about Deion Sanders, give me a thumbs up. If you guys didn't, give me a thumbs down. This article right here, to me, is exactly what Professor Black Truth was talking about the white media's portrayal of Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders, if you ask me, just, you know what I'm saying, just be very careful, walk on eggshells, get in and get out with the money. Because what it looks like is they're trying to raise Deion Sanders to this crazy astronomical status, and then they're going to try to yank the strings and pull him down hard, and his whole family. And I really hope that doesn't happen. You know what I'm saying? I really hope that doesn't happen. And honestly, that's one of the reasons they're talking about this quote unquote support that he has from the black community. It's really that we're rooting for. We do want him to win football games, but we want him to beat white supremacy. That's why ain't nobody tripping over him losing to Oregon. It's Team WS whose ass we want Deion Sanders to kick. Him winning and kicking ass in the NCAA, my bad, in NCAA. That's just a bonus. That's just the bonus. It's actually people like Associated Press, people like those white trolls on Twitter. That's who we want Deion Sanders to beat. If he wins on the field, that's just an added bonus for us. You know what I'm saying? But the article's not going to say that. All they're going to say is that Deion's really promoting the black community. I feel like it's our turn. You know what I'm saying? There's so much blackness that's involved in this, and it's the biggest story in the country, Hamlet said. Although you have standard supporters from Colorado University, you have so many different people that are now getting behind this. It feels like they're people getting behind the black community. These are the dangerous kind of comments that the white media loves. Deion's really promoting the black community. I feel like it's our turn. So when the white media tricks somebody into giving these kind of comments, these kinds of statements, what they're doing is they're going to try to ramp Deion Sanders up. And then when he falls, make it a black community failure. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to John. John says, you heard what Keyshawn Johnson said, that the coaches were conspiring to beat him. Oh, I'm sure they are. I'm sure they are, man. I'm sure they are. And then even when Deion Sanders does do extremely well, they're going to attribute it to all of these other, they're going to say that he made recruiting unfair. And what they're going to do, watch, if Deion Sanders is able to do an abnormally well job at recruiting, they're going to attempt to tamper with the rules of recruiting so that Deion Sanders' traditional methods of how he would recruit are not available to him anymore. He'll adjust, but that's what they're going to do, because when they get their asses beat, they change the rules. You know what I'm saying? Because even if you are better, the ongoing thought process is there's no way that you can be better. So what they'll do is they'll attempt to change the rules. Or even if you play by the rules, they'll say that you're cheating. You're just cheating. You know what I'm saying? So we already know this. We already know what's going to happen. You know what I mean? So now here it says black creators are posting stuff about Colorado football all the time. Now, here's my thing, right? I disagree with this. There's so much blackness that's involved in this. Actually, if you ask me, there's so much WS that's involved in this. Black people are just doing what normal people do. There's so much. See, white supremacy has isolated us and made it look like everything that we do is a spectacle. We're not black people supporting Deion Sanders is no different than white people blindly supporting Conor McGregor when he fought Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather was the American in the equation, but everybody was rooting for the Irish guy to win. He lost, of course, but everybody was rooting for the Irish guy to win. You know what I'm saying? So when they say there's so much blackness involved in this, I get it. And what he means, right? What he means, I agree with. However, looking at it from the way we look at shit, there's white supremacy fingerprints all over this. And it's the biggest story in the country, which means that it's the biggest story that white supremacy chooses to focus on, because what they should be focusing on is what they're going to do about them cartels down there, you know what I'm saying, on the border, and artificial intelligence, and the GDP, and the rising debt in the country. You know what I'm saying? All kinds of other stuff that they can focus on. Now, I'm not saying for Deion Sanders to not get his shine. Don't get it twisted. You know what I'm saying? Because y'all know I rock with Deion. I'm just saying, we're doing the quote unquote media thing. You know what I'm saying? We're doing the media thing. So now here it says, although you have standard supporters from Colorado University, you also have so many different people that are now getting behind this. I don't believe that there's so many people getting behind this. I believe that there's many black people who don't know. Like, if you watch the Dreamers Pro channel, shout out to Dreamers Pro. Even Dreamers Pro said that he doesn't watch football all like that, but he's been following Deion Sanders. He actually in his commentary about the loss to Oregon, as a matter of fact, Dreamers Pro gave an excellent example of the Deion Sanders phenomenon. Dreamers Pro said he's an NBA channel, which we all know, you know what I'm saying? And he, you know, covers basketball. He's been covering Deion Sanders because he's interested in it. Yeah, I love Dreamers Pro. You know what I'm saying? That's one of my favorite channels on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? And he said that he's interested, right? He doesn't usually pay attention, and his wife was interested, and his wife don't watch football. You know what I'm saying? So Dreamers Pro is a black dude. He's a black dude. If I'm not mistaken, I think Dreamers Pro is actually Nigerian. He's a black dude who's a Nigerian who doesn't normally follow football, who's interested in the success of Deion Sanders, right? So when we say that different people are getting behind this, I think that there's different black people getting behind this. Show me white people who are different that are getting behind this. Show me Latinos who are different that are getting behind this. I don't think that there are any. And if there are people who are interested in it, the people who are interested in it are those coaches that want to see Deion Sanders fail. They're interested, but they're interested because they're watching for a failure. You got a lot of hate watchers who are interested. But when it comes to the people who are interested in hoping for success, that's mostly black people. That's mostly black people. You know what I'm saying? Then, of course, you know, if Deion Sanders wasn't coaching at Colorado University, Jason Whitlock wouldn't be talking about him. Nah, he's a Nigerian American dude. You know what I'm saying? If Deion Sanders wasn't doing well, and if Deion Sanders wasn't currently coaching at Colorado University, Jason Whitlock wouldn't be talking about him. You know what Jason Whitlock would be talking about? What Jason Whitlock would be doing is, if Deion Sanders wasn't hot right now, Jason Whitlock would be making 2 months worth of live streams and video clips about the Target riots in Philadelphia, and literally say that every single black person in the nation was in Philadelphia rioting at Target. That's what Jason Whitlock would be doing. And he might throw in some Deion Sanders drags here or there, you know what I'm saying? Or he would be focusing on something else. He would dig up some videos about Jackson, talking about how black people didn't treat Ron DeSantis good, talking about we're causing the problem because, quote unquote, we're racializing it, despite the fact we didn't write anything on a gun and we didn't go anywhere and try to delete anybody because of their race. Because we're reporting the facts, we racialized something. Shame on us. That's what Jason Whitlock would do. You know what I'm saying? Right. Jason would be upset because he wasn't invited so he could rob the Starbucks attached to the Target. Right. And he would steal all the pound cake with his big ass. Jason Whitlock would walk right past. If Jason Whitlock was at the riots, first and foremost, he would have a scooter because you know his big ass ain't about to run down the street like they was running. You know what I'm saying? First of all. Second of all, he would run right past the open cash register and grab all the pound cake that they got at Starbucks. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, he'll be big mad. Which he should be big mad because he's big. You know what I'm saying? Big people get big mad. You know what I'm saying? So now here it says black creators are posting about Colorado football all the time. Black people all over the country are wearing Buffaloes gear and rooting for the team despite having no connection to Colorado other than pride and support for what Sanders is doing. Now, let me ask you guys a question, right? Again, I am not dragging people that are supporting Deion Sanders because I haven't watched college football since I used to hate watch Ohio State. I haven't watched college football since I used to hate watch Ohio State. You know what I'm saying? And hate watch Alabama. So you know I was annoyed when Ohio State played Alabama and won. I was not happy that day. You know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, I think that might have been the last game that I played that I watched for a while. And then I think Ohio State played Sanford, and Sanford won, which I told everybody they would because Big Ten teams ain't shit out of conference, but people don't like when you say that. You know what I'm saying? I don't like Ohio State. You know what I'm saying? I'm not an Ohio State fan. I can't stand Ohio State. You know what I'm saying? Any team, I don't like Ohio State, and furthermore, I don't like the Big Ten. I don't like Michigan. I don't like Michigan State. I don't like Indiana. I don't like none of the Big Ten or whatever, the Big 12 or whatever they call themselves now. You know what I'm saying? So now here it says, and the thing is, back to this paragraph, right? Because I'm reminiscing over back when I used to follow sports and I'm getting irritated thinking about Ohio State. You know what I'm saying? Let me ask you guys a question. Black creators are posting about Colorado football online. Black people all over the country are wearing Buffaloes gear, rooting for the team despite having no connection to Colorado other than pride and support for what Sanders is doing. Now, largely, a lot of black people support LeBron James, right? But I live where LeBron James is from. Most lifetime people here or long-term people here support LeBron James because he's from here. Why? Because people relate to people on different things. Many black people relate to Deion Sanders because he is black. It's inspirational for them. If you divide people by locality, a lot of people from Akron support LeBron James because he's from Akron. So nobody wrote an article about how people from Northeast Ohio support LeBron James, yet have no connection to the LA Lakers. So when these people sit there and say, oh, you're racializing things, who is it that's actually racializing things? Who's the actual race hustlers? Let me ask you guys a question. Is this a race hustle article from Associated Press? They created this article, and then everybody will take this article and say how woke the article is and put it on Deion Sanders like he asked them to write it. Put it on black people as if we asked him to write it. We'd rather you just shut the hell up. We'd rather the Associated Press just shut your trap. Now, Deion is prime. We're talking about prime time. Neon Deion. He's not going to turn down any attention. We all know that. Doing the media thing. You know what I'm saying? Got to get these talking points out there. You feel me? So, it's Associated Press who wants to, quote unquote, racialize this, right? It's not black people. It's not the woke mob. It's Associated Press. Black people are doing nothing different than anybody else does. How many people ever heard of Stipe Miocic? If you guys have ever heard of Stipe Miocic, give me a thumbs up in the chat. If you guys have not ever heard of Stipe Miocic, give me a thumbs down. Anybody know who Stipe Miocic is? Exactly, J Cage. Facts. And that's why I'm taking this angle on this article. Stipe Miocic is a former UFC heavyweight champion. If I'm not mistaken, he has a fight coming up, or either the fight might have already happened against John Jones. But Stipe Miocic is a UFC heavyweight champion. All right. Or former UFC heavyweight champion. He's a really good fighter. You know what I'm saying? He was one of the UFC heavyweight champions who was able to maintain the belt for a while. You know what I'm saying? He's a, I believe, Croatian dude from Ohio. Northeast Ohio. He's from Cleveland. A lot of different people like Stipe Miocic. People from Cleveland wanted to see him do good in the UFC because we watched him in the NAAFS, which is the local cage fighting tournament circuit that we got down here. He used to be a firefighter. I'm sure people in the fire department support him. Nobody's asking questions about why these people who aren't linked to him support him or want to see him do well in the UFC. You know what I'm saying? Associated Press racializing the issue. Black people are not doing anything out of the ordinary. Black people are doing what every other group of people, regardless of how you break people up, are doing. They're supporting someone that they relate to, that they want to see succeed. That is what we're doing with Deion Sanders. And we're supporting Deion Sanders against more than just his collegiate football team opposition. We're supporting him against the same system that's been messing with us since before the United States was formed. So our support for Deion Sanders is more than average. They're mad because they're lackluster. Facts. I agree, Torian. 110%. Deion Sanders does not try to downplay who he is. He not only presents with his full character, he accentuates his character. That's not something that they like a lot. Deion Sanders is extremely confident, extremely comfortable in his ability. They don't like that. Oh, well. Now, they sat there and said that Deion Sanders, quote unquote, got humbled against Oregon. How do you get humbled against a team that had like plus 26 odds to beat you? Or Colorado wasn't favored to win that game. So how is that humbling when you get beat by a team that's supposed to beat you? It would be different if they went in talking crazy, which they didn't. They went in saying the same thing that everybody else does. Now, what I find interesting is what I want you guys to do is I want you guys to name me some confident, cocky, condescending white coaches and white athletes. My question is, do you ever see the articles? Was there an article about Conor McGregor, quote unquote, being humbled when Nate Diaz broke his undefeated streak? I mean, because Conor McGregor is a thug. You know what I'm saying? He's loud and obnoxious. He gets undeserved favoritism from the UFC. Nate Diaz came in there and put his ass to sleep. Easy. That wasn't supposed to happen. Everybody was just silent about it. So they didn't run that kind of article about Conor McGregor, despite the fact that Conor McGregor has a horrible, horrible athletic presentation. They never present white athletes the same way as they present black ones. They always try to villainize black athletes. Black coaches, whatever. Everybody else can be proud of where they're from. Conor McGregor can be proud to be Irish. Stipe Miocic can wear the Croatian flag. Black people say we're proud to be black. Oh, it's a problem. We're racializing everything at XYZ. How does that work? What kind of sense does that make? That's a double standard if I've ever seen one. And honestly, I don't think that anyone should ever bow to that double standard. There's no need to. Completely unnecessary. As a matter of fact, it's more necessary to make sure that you stand behind what you believe and make sure that you stand behind who you are and make sure that you show people, no, you're not gonna beat my identity out of me. I'm me. And you're gonna address me as me. I'm a black male coach that is in you guys' house breaking the furniture, and you're not gonna do anything about it except for tiptoe around me. That's it. Know what I'm saying? So now here it says kids have tried to peek over the gates near the Buffalo practice facility for a glimpse at it all. More than 7 million people watched the Buffaloes upset last year's national championship runner-up TCU in their season opener on September 2nd. So now see, this is what I'm saying. The Buffaloes are not like projected, like they're not even projected to win any of these games. You know what I'm saying? All of these games are wins that are not expected. They I want to say they've played 3 games. I think they're 2-1 if I'm not mistaken. No, I think they're 3-1. 3 out of 4 games that I know of, the losing odds were for Colorado. Colorado State was supposed to beat Colorado too, according to the odds. So like Deion Sanders' team is not supposed to be winning like this. They're sitting here trying to act like he's got the odds behind him. He's actually the underdog. You know what I'm saying? So now here it says Colorado's first 3 games of the seasons were rated 77% higher among black viewers than anywhere else in the country, according to data provided by ESPN research. Now you see now this is what I tell people about data gathering, right? This is why I tell people we need to start our own think tanks. We need to track our own data. Why is ESPN recording the data along racial lines? I thought race didn't matter. I thought race didn't matter. And real quick, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys haven't smashed the like button, please take a moment. Make sure you guys smash that like button. Also, if you guys haven't hit the bell, please take a moment. Make sure you guys hit that bell. And also, please share the stream to your social media. Torian says, remember they were 1-11 last season? The fact that they are 3-1 now means they had a way better season by default. If they lose the rest of the year, if they lose every game for the rest of the year, Deion Sanders already made a 300% improvement. You know what I'm saying? They love keeping tabs on us. Who watches the Watchmen? Facts. That's why we need to start doing quote unquote counter surveillance. We need to start doing counter surveillance. You know what I'm saying? Lala Papa says the problem right now, Black, is that they've underestimated the fact that out of all the coaches, not one college coach played professional ball. Facts. Except for Coach Prime. You know what I'm saying? Except for Prime. Black viewers made up 23% of the audience for those games, compared with 15% for non-Colorado games. Then number 10, Oregon, handed the Buffaloes their first loss in a 42-6 rout last Saturday that knocked the Buffaloes out of the AP top 25. Looking at their schedule, more setbacks are likely, but black support for, there should have been setbacks already. You know what I'm saying? Like, so again, they leave that out. But black support for Sanders in Colorado is as much about culture and representation as it is wins and losses. That's interesting. Associated Press. How? Let me ask you guys a question. How is any of this about culture and how? It's not about culture with us. It's about culture with the people that want to maintain the racial status quo among college coaches. I mean, if you talk about us and a culture of athletic superiority, okay, I'll give you an ear. But nobody's making a big deal out of it except who? All we're doing is sitting back watching games and saying, we hope Deion wins. You literally got white people on Twitter acting like Deion Sanders is leading the charge to white genocide. Which is insane. That is literally highly insane, highly problematic, highly delusional, and another indication of what people need to be aware of in people's mentalities. stuff we got to deal with as far as when it comes to quote unquote dealing with certain people here in our American experience. How many tweets have you guys seen? Oh, this is Yo MTV Raps. It is. It is. It's Yo MTV Raps. Wasn't aware. But there was a white guy on Twitter that said that. What did that lady say? Oh, this made me feel like we still have hope. Who still has hope? This isn't the purge. This isn't a race war. I mean, it is. You guys are waging race war against us, but this is professional or, college football. Not talking about gentrification and police deleting people, cultural genocide at schools. We're not talking about that because you all are doing that. We're talking about a game of football. You're not at any risk for anything other than having your fragile ego shattered like porcelain. And I mean, the way that these people are shrieking and squealing, the fear of that happening must be highly painful, which is one of the reasons why that's something that we need to start working towards. At full speed. You know what I'm saying? But what I'm curious about is Associated Press's claim that Black support for Sanders in Colorado is as much about culture and representation as it is wins and losses. Our support for Deion Sanders is for Deion Sanders to not only have a successful season, but to successfully navigate through all of the white supremacist obstacles that he's going to deal with. I mean, if you're considering fighting white supremacy as part of our culture, again, same thing with the athletic superiority. I guess I'll lend you an ear. Representation, I mean, he's the first of his kind. He's the first Black male, also the first coach, period. He's the first Black male coach, the first All Lives Matter coach that's played 2 professional sports, been in the Hall of Fame, and coached college basketball. Right, exactly. Did you see what Carrie Steele said? She said that Oregon win stands for them. Mind you, she went to USC. Exactly. I'm telling you, those people are always in a mind state of if anybody else is breathing, they're waging war against us, and use that to justify any kind of violence, oppression, or genocide that they do. I'm telling you, man, people got to start understanding that. People got to start understanding that, because if people don't understand that, that really opens you up for a lot of vulnerability navigating through the world. You know what I'm saying? So now here it says that game was the most watched of the 2023 season, drawing 10.4 million viewers on ABC. And the Buffaloes have a highly anticipated matchup against number 8, Southern California, coming up Saturday. I'm gonna have to get a video up. I didn't get a chance to get no videos up about Oregon. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to my man TD Hip Hop Media. Facts. If you're not subscribed to TD Hip Hop Media, make sure y'all go and check his channel out. TD says Dr. Francis Cress Welsing's words are still standing true to this day. When you look at the Mzungu's response to Deion, facts, hypersensitivity, instant threat to the ego. And I mean, like, y'all make the rules. Y'all own the playing field. What are you worried about? I'm telling you, man. Listen, man. When people are ready to start playing chess, then they will, because these people, they don't really hide anything. If people actually paid attention to this stuff and responded and actually were, watching the tapes, how like when you're playing a sport, you're supposed to watch the tape, hitting the sensitive areas, easy money. Easy money. You know what I'm saying? So now here it says, former athletes and celebrities have made appearances at Colorado Folsom Field, from Pro Football Hall of Famers Michael Irvin and Terrell Owens to Kawhi Leonard and Kyle Lowry of the NBA. Before the rivalry game against Colorado State, Sanders walked out with Grammy award-winning rapper Lil Wayne. Now here goes my question. How is that the black community? How is that the black community? That's some celebrities. That's some athletes. That's not average black people. That's not the black community. Literally no other group of celebrities is considered, quote unquote, their community. They don't consider Selena Gomez and Bad Bunny the Latino community. They don't do that. That's our community. Really? I don't ever see, when I go outside, any of those people that they just listed, anytime I go outside, I don't see none of them. I don't see none of them. You know what I'm saying? Now look at this. This person here, Reland Rebecca, he says, we don't really have very much of a black community. Why would you say that to the white media? The white media just told you who they're saying your community is. They said that it was Lil Wayne in them. We don't really have very much of a black community, said Reland Rebecca, the director of the Center for African and African American Studies at Colorado. Boulder has, okay, so he's talking about Boulder, Colorado. Boulder has an African American population of 1.1. I've been here for nearly 20 years. I've never seen anything like this. Okay, so he's not talking, he's talking about numbers only. Okay. All right. If you ask me, you got to be real careful when you say stuff to the white media. If I was him, I would have said we have a small black community because of our percentage of the population. That's what I would have said. Just saying. You know what I'm saying? The reason why I'm saying that is because you just got to be extremely careful when you're dealing with the media, because of what the nefarious things that they're trying to do with your words. You know what I'm saying? You can't give them any leeway whatsoever. None. You know what I'm saying? So now here says Sanders, the former football and basketball star, has embraced stardom in a way unlike other athletes since he wore flashy sunglasses and layers of chains in his playing days. And he has carried that aura with him as a coach. He speaks with a pastoral vibrato and has a contemporary yet principled coaching style. And he makes headlines with idiosyncratic sayings like, I'm a monument, not a moment. Sanders has also been vocal about issues that affect the black community. Now, let me ask you guys a question, because now what's going on, and this happens a lot too, right? Most black people talk about shit going on in the black community. That's what happens, because everybody talks about issues going on in their communities, because most people spend most of their time in their communities. This is nothing abnormal. What is abnormal is for people who have children that go to school and shoot up the schools, and people that have opiate epidemics to not talk about those issues. That's abnormal. You know, black people had terms. We call people crackheads and baseheads. I don't think that white people have names for their addicts. We call degenerates Pookies and Ray Rays. If you ask them, they don't have any degenerates. So the way that they handle things is extremely abnormal. The way that we handle things is extremely normal. The way that we handle things is the way that everybody else claims to handle things and doesn't do. And that's just what it is. Everybody else falls short when compared to what we do. I mean, that's literally just what it is. However, just because Sanders is talking about shit that goes on in the black community, I don't know, because his family is black and Deion Sanders' family is black. You know what I'm saying? He's got that is a foundation. Shout out to him. That is a foundational black American family. You know what I'm saying? So of course he's going to talk about stuff in the black community. That literally makes sense. It's not something abnormal. It's not something that should have a microscope put on it by the white media, like, oh my God, Deion Sanders is just talking about shit going on in the black community. That's what people do. That is normal. But the reason why they're doing this is they're going to try to take Deion Sanders' words and try to turn him into some quote unquote unofficial leader of the black community, which is not something that I've ever heard Deion Sanders try to say that he is or was or wants to be. The media is going to try to do that to him. And I hope that he doesn't fall for it. When a country singer talks about they had to put their dog down, do they say, well, you know, I love the way this country singer just embraced and, you know, put into a song issues going on in the white community, like putting your dog to sleep. They never do that. They never do that. That's just, he's just talking. So now here it says, including the need for more attention and resources to be poured into historically black colleges and universities. Now here goes my thing, right? Is this Deion Sanders? Okay, all right. True or false? Is Deion Sanders a former employee of a historically black university? Another question for you. Quote unquote, are historically black colleges, quote unquote, all encompassing, quote unquote, black community issues? I'm asking these questions. You know what I'm saying? I don't necessarily know if my opinion on this is correct, but I'm just throwing these questions out here to see how you guys feel and to see if you guys feel the same way that I do. So by Deion Sanders saying, you know, historically black colleges need more resources put into them, that's discussing black community issues? I mean, those are issues that, when discussed, would definitely be of benefit to be examined by Black people who are alumni or students or potential students of historically Black colleges, right? So I'm not saying that that's an unnecessary conversation. I'm not saying that it should be deprioritized or that it doesn't mean anything. All I'm asking is that quote unquote an issue affecting the Black community, or is that an issue affecting historically Black colleges? Which one is it? Because historically Black colleges do not affect every single Black person. I'm not saying that they don't need to be supported. I'm not saying that I don't support them. All I'm saying is that there's many Black people who have lived a life and have never had contact with a historical Black college. And not because they got an issue with historically Black colleges or anything like that, just because they just haven't. So is that is it fair for Associated Press to assign that as a Black community issue? I find that interesting that that's what they did, instead of talking about the fact that Deion Sanders is an ex-employee of one. Because that is a fact, right? It is a fact that Deion Sanders has experience with a historically Black college. He was an ex-employee of a historically Black college. His son, family members went to a historically Black college. So he has deep experience in historically Black colleges. So he's talking about those in terms of being relative to his life and something that he was involved in and a place that he worked. But notice how the Associated Press is attempting to take that and say that this is the Black community. The same way they took Lil Wayne and all those other people and said the Black community supporting Deion Sanders. I'm just saying. Now, here goes the thought, right? Sanders has also been vocal about issues that affect the Black community, including the need for more attention and resources to be poured into historically Black colleges and universities. Now, I'm not saying that that's not true, right? I agree. And I would never talk against historically Black colleges getting more money. Matter of fact, I would say give them more, right? Remember, we're doing the media thing. Doesn't Deion Sanders know firsthand the lack of resources that, in particular, Jackson State has from working there and dealing with it? Now, that's a Black community issue? Or is this an ex-employer testimonial? Which one is it? If you ask me, it's more accurate to say that this is an ex-employer testimonial, because when I think of the Black quote unquote community, I think of issues common to the majority of Black people. I don't have the statistics, but I don't think that the majority of Black people have had a HBCU experience, whether as an employee or as a coach. So I don't think that that's quote unquote a quote unquote community issue. I don't think that Associated Press should be attempting to assign that. I don't think that Associated Press should be attempting to assign Deion Sanders as quote unquote speaking for the Black community. Deion Sanders didn't say that he's on behalf of the Black community. Black colleges need more money. Deion Sanders didn't do that. Am I wrong? Am I the only one seeing this, or am I way off? Somebody let me know. If you guys don't agree with me, it's perfectly fine. You know what I'm saying? Let me know if y'all don't agree. So now here it says, and about his mission to inject a new culture into Colorado football. Now, as far as the new culture into Colorado football that he wants to inject, I think he just wants to inject his coaching style. The whole like no team captains thing and all of that. Hard work, discipline. You know what I'm saying? He's made it clear that he's not changing no matter the amount of criticism that his coaching style has received. Again, I'm trying to figure out the black shit with this. But remember, it's Associated Press saying that this is the black shit. Remember, I said my black shit that I take out of this is Deion Sanders sticking it to white supremacy. That's my black shit out of this, right? This is what Associated Press is taking as the quote unquote black shit out of it. Not everyone wants to hear the truth all the time, but he tells the truth, said Washington Commanders offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy, a tailback at Colorado from 1987 to 90, and still the Buffalo's career rushing leader. And the only thing he's doing is helping those young men by teaching them at an early age what accountability is about. And so that's what I admire about him. Now, if this was anybody else, they would be saying how all-American that is. Right? If this was anybody else, they'll be sitting up here talking about how all-American this is. Deion Sanders, he's just the all-American coach. He's the all-American coach. Look what he's doing. But for some reason, now, we're talking about cultural. For some reason, when Deion Sanders wants to instill a value of accountability, we're just not going to say it's an all-American value. He's not an all-American coach. It's interesting, right? It's interesting. So now here it says Colorado won 4 conference championships from 1989 to 91 and 2001, as well as a national title in 1990. That was the last time that Darian Hagan, Colorado's quarterback from 1988 to 91, had seen so much excitement around the program before Sanders' arrival. I have a 78-year-old aunt, and she calls me after every game telling me how proud she is of our program and of Sanders, Hagan said. Just to have a 78-year-old woman staying up late to watch football games, it tells you a lot about people and the belief that we have in him. Sanders' early Colorado tenure conjures memories of pioneering college basketball coach John Thompson, whose Georgetown Hoyas were an anomaly on a predominantly white campus, but garnered the unwavering support of the hip hop and black community. I mean, what are we talking about here? Seriously? Why would they not get the support? Black people watch basketball. Every single state is a predominantly white state, but guess what? Black people like the basketball teams. Illinois is a predominantly white state. People really liked the Chicago Bulls when Michael Jordan played for them. See how that works? People support people that they relate to. There was a lot of reasons why people used to like the Georgetown Hoyas. People was really rocking with John Thompson. John Thompson coached some of the people that went on to become some of the best centers in the NBA. If I'm not mistaken, I think Allen Iverson was at Georgetown when John Thompson was the coach. Alonzo Mourning. People support black coaches. People support black quarterbacks. People support black MVPs. That is not what they're trying to do. Is they're trying to make you doubt your support. And this is a tactic to try to weaken people's support of each other. I think one of the reasons why the Democrats are losing black support is because with all of the information available and all of the content online and people comparing notes and talking, opening up communication, I think that one thing that always worked in favor of white supremacy was that it seemed that there was an issue of black people having a distrust of other black people. And we still somewhat, if you ask me from my observation, that issue does still exist, but it's weakening. People are now actually starting to trust other people. Just in my observation, you know what I'm saying? People are starting to validate information with black media news sources. That is a good thing. Articles like this are made to make you doubt your natural instinct to support somebody that you relate to. This is a derangement of internal politics article. Again, using Professor Truth's talking point. Shout out to Professor Black Truth. He's right. You know what I'm saying? So now here it says the 6'10" Thompson became the first black coach to win the NCAA Division I basketball championship and was outspoken on social issues. This is the damn thing, right? I'm so tired of this social issue shit. The reason why black people are outspoken on social issues is because all the social issues mess with us. They're not social issues, man. These are issues deal with black people. People getting killed by the police, that's a black people issue, bruh. That's not no social issue. The racial wealth gap, that's not a social issue. That's a black issue. If it was a social issue, it would be something that's common to everybody in society. When they talk about these issues and call it social issues, they're trying to dilute the problem in preparation to be able to all lives matter the solution. These ain't social issues. Race massacres ain't social issues. Those are black people issues that we got to deal with because we are stuck in a place where WS is part of the damn culture. That's not a social issue. That's a us issue that we got to deal with because the people that keep perpetuating it don't want to take accountability and fix it because they need it. So now here it says Sanders Buffaloes aren't in the championship neighborhood yet. But like what happened at Georgetown, the momentum is building at Colorado transcends sports. I was a DePaul fan growing up and I rooted for them, said Randall Crutcher, a former Crichton basketball player from the Chicago area, but not when they played against John Thompson. I rooted for Georgetown. I'm rooting for the black team. Crutcher lives in an Omaha suburb and became a Nebraska basketball fan after attending college in the state, but he rooted against the Cornhuskers when they played the Buffaloes. Colorado hired Sanders last December to turn around a dormant program that won one game in 2022. Sanders was coming off 3 successful seasons as the head coach at Jackson State, leading the Tigers to consecutive Southwestern Atlantic Conference titles, putting a national spotlight on HBCUs and their culture. What are they talking about HBCUs and their quote unquote and their culture? I'm telling you, man, watch the words, watch how they do this. You know what I'm saying? For Hamlet, Sanders represents an assortment of the stereotypes of what black men can do to achieve success. I'm telling y'all, do they write articles like this about anybody else? Now, I want to know from you guys, why are they writing an article like this about us? They don't write articles like this about anybody else. My question for you guys is, why is an article like this being written about us? How many articles about Asian people have you seen like this? And why haven't we seen any? Nobody asked for this article. Let me ask you guys the question. What do you guys think that the purpose of this article is? What's the purpose of this article? What's this article meant to do? Being in a school that's predominantly white, I have always felt that I had to change who I am to be successful, Hamlet said. Now here goes my question. Why why would somebody feel that way? Because I believe that that's something that a lot of people actually do feel. I think you're onto something, Torian. To quote unquote go after the woke mob, or to basically say, you know, black people are racializing the Deion Sanders coaching quote unquote experiment. When, mind you, this Associated Press isn't a black owned media company, and it's them that's saying all of this. I think that you can learn interesting things about stereotypes that people have about you when they're so overconfident that they just end up having diarrhea of the mouth, and they just start talking about anything as if they own the subject. This article, if you ask me, this says a lot. This says a lot. It's so nice to see a black man doing what he's doing. Have so much influence, have so much power, so much authenticity. That shows that our culture does not have to be modified to be great. That's never been in question for me. What about you guys? I've never questioned that. Honestly, it's really only non-black people that want to try to force black people to change our culture and who we are. I don't think any of us is really out here like, oh, we need to completely change our culture. We just got to change our culture so that we can just be better. It's not about being better. In most cases, we are better. It's about other people not burning shit down and spazzing out in a genocidal way. That's what it's about. It's about, can other people control themselves and comfortably be comfortable with second place? That's what it's about. And history has shown that that's not possible for some people. Some people just aren't capable of it. Some people just can't take a loss fairly. Shout out to Brooklyn Queen. What's good with it, Brooklyn Queen? So now Rebecca said black people can see part of themselves in Sanders, who was raised in Fort Myers, Florida, mostly by his mother, and his ability to transform his life through sports. Most black people don't transform their lives through sports. It's not a Cinderella story for black people with sports all like that. I don't understand why, like, we're all not athletes, dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, sports isn't a secondary planned a secondary career plan that's reserved for black people. Like that's not how that works. You know what I'm saying? So now here says what also will continue to resonate with people is Sanders' commitment to building up the black community outside of football and embracing some of the same ideals of hip hop culture. Rebecca added, what ideals of hip hop culture? And black people made hip hop, black Americans made hip hop culture. Like what are they talking about here? They trying to sit up here and talk like black Americans, if we quote unquote, I guess, I don't know how we adopt some shit that we made, but whatever. That they're like framing this like we're culture vulturing our own shit. You know what I'm saying? Instead of dissing these young kids that come out of very similar conditions as Coach Prime did, he actually embraces them and is just challenging us to use our platforms progressively. But literally nobody disses these young kids except for people like Larry Elder. It's literally people like Larry Elder, Jason Whitlock, and white conservatives that literally talk shit about everybody in the inner city as if they go there. They don't go to the inner city because they're busy dodging bullets in the suburbs and rural areas. So now here says, so don't just help yourself. How about helping somebody else? And that's what fits in with the hip hop aesthetic. Whenever we say each one teach one, that's very basic to old school hip hop culture. Dude, what in the hell are you talking about? This, I'm telling you guys, every time somebody reads one of these articles, it should be motivation. This is why we need to have our own media. Anytime you read some nonsense like this, this should motivate you to start your own YouTube channel.